Welcome to the Microscopists, a bite-sized bio podcast, hosted by Peter O'Toole, sponsored by Zeiss Microscopy. Today on the Microscopists, I'm joined by Ilaria Testa, who tells us why she thinks delegation is a fundamental skill for any senior scientist.
I had a tendency to be very much on top of many things and try to do things by myself, which is not sustainable in the long term, but is also not good for your team member, because you have to give them space to develop their own person, their own scientist.
She talks about growing from her personal and professional struggles.
I need to sort of see what, to get through the struggle, to touch the bottom, I'd say, but not probably real. But to then try to get a better version of myself.
And why she thinks feedback on grant applications, good or bad, is critical.
The problem is that in many grants you don't receive feedback, and I think this is a real pity, because it doesn't give you the possibility to get better.
All in this episode of the Microscopists. Hi, welcome to the Microscopists. I'm Peter O'Toole from the University of York, and today I'm joined by Ilaria Testa from Stockholm. Ilaria, how are you today?
Hello, I'm good. Hi, Pete.
So
Thanks
the very
for having
first
me.
thing I have to say is congratulations, you're a mom.
Yes, I'm a mom for the second time.
And how long ago was this?
Yeah, 4 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk today. And how's it going?
Yeah, it's going well. It works. A lot of sleepless night, but somehow you adapt to that. So,
How old is your first?
2.5.
2.5. And how are they finding it?
Yeah, that's probably the most challenging part. She's excited, which always can come with also some dangerous situation, because she wants to interact with the small one. But yeah, so far so good. We try to manage them.
And how are you finding the change of having one child, which is hard work, to having 2 children, which is a lot more intense?
I guess when they're that small, I mean, apart from the sleepless night, they do sleep a lot overall.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, it's quite easy to adapt and to find time also for the other. It's also important, of course, to share responsibility and time with your partner. I'm very lucky in that sense. So it's we try to juggle all the things all the time we have, but that's how it's going. Yeah.
What does your partner do?
He's also a scientist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also at Stockholm?
Also in Stockholm. He's a neuroscientist. Yeah, so we work close by. He's at Karolinska. I'm at SciLife Lab. So
does he do any imaging?
Yes. Sometime. Yeah. No, he's more on the molecular side, but use microscope as a tool for in situ sequencing and this kind of thing. So he's always asking me for higher throughput.
Yeah, that's not what you're doing, is throughput.
No, at least not yet, and not. But yeah.
So how much time are you going to take off? Are you taking any time off? Now you've got 2 children, or are you taking some time off, and how long are you taking off if you are?
So what we did we will try to do the same that we did with the first one. So try to do sort of 50-50, like a few days, one and the other. So to share with him. I never actually left for a long period of time. I think it's very hard with our job, so I don't plan to do it also this time, but sort of divide the week between ourselves, so that we can always check in and do the important things.
Actually, this is, I think, a good question. Do you wish you had a job that you could put aside, or actually do you enjoy your job and actually you want to keep that engagement anyway?
No, that's the second one for sure. I mean, we could, right? I mean, the system that we have here, you could just, you know, check out and come back in a year or even in a year and a half later. But I would die. if it would happen to me. I mean, I don't know. There are people that can do it. For me, it's like so natural and so important to keep discussing, you know, with students, think about the project. I can't just do it. I can't just run away. You know, I will become insane.
So actually, I'm not going to call it your job because it's not a job. I'm sensing you don't see it as a job. Is your work your hobby and your sport?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, yeah. So I really enjoy what I do. I don't feel that I have to do it. I mean, of course, there are always sides of your job that you don't like to do. And I mean, administrative duties are not my favorite. But the all scientific discussion, this is, I think, an innate part of, I would say, my personality. So I can, yes, in that sense, this is really part of who I am. So I love to do it, and I would feel impaired without it. But I do love also doing other things. It's not that, you know, I need to do experiment day and night.
So what other hobbies do you have?
I mean, over the year, I think I explored many things. I grew up in close by Genova, maybe it's known for some of conference, right? So it's a city, like a small town on the sea, and close by Genova. And then, of course, by being close to the sea, you I practice. I enjoy a lot of water sport, like, you know, diving, snorkeling, and kayaking, and so on. But, you know, to follow your scientific path, sometimes you need to relocate and going norther and norther. I kind of shift my enthusiasm from water to snow. So lately we practiced a lot of cross-country ski.
So you actually sent a picture of you cross skiing. I presume
Oh
you're...
yeah, there it is. Yeah, that was one of the latest um, hobbies that we enjoy doing. And it's fantastic because, you know, you are outdoor and you can explore nice landscape covered with snow, as you can see. You keep yourself warm because you need to do a lot of work out. So it's
So all your hobbies are quite physical. So how important is fitness to you?
I think it's good for your mind. It's good to zoom out and relax and see things in a different way. So for me, like being outdoor is really, really important.
So if I go back, you said you started in Genoa and then gradually moved north. So you did a degree, master's. What subject was that? And was that in Genoa?
It was in Genova. It was physics. So yeah, so was I mean, general physics and then theoretical physics the last 2 years. That was, I mean, was high in Genova. I mean, a lot of people were working also at CERN. So there was also a lot of nuclear physics and so on. And that was actually like theoretical physics was the reason why I studied physics at the beginning. So when I was in high school, I remember I had this very exciting math professor, Livia, and she was always talking. I mean, she couldn't teach quantum mechanics, of course, but she was always talking about that, like this mysterious word governed by rules so different from classic physics. And like all this mystery really excite me because I said, like, how is it possible that a word like that exists? And so I remember that being like a big part of my motivation. Of course, then I always like and enjoy math and physics, right? So it was topics that were coming kind of natural to me. And that's why I moved. So I started physics. Yeah, I was actually a very bad experimentalist. I was so much better in theory.
So you said that it came natural to you, the maths and physics came natural to you. Were your parents mathematicians or physicists?
No, not at all. Not at
No?
all. No, I didn't even actually knew what research was at the time. in fact, I mean, I didn't want to be a researcher. I didn't know what was it. I mean, of course, you know about scientists, but I didn't know about the actual job of a researcher. I wanted to be a medical doctor at that time. That's what it was more intuitive to understand.
So what did your parents do? What were they?
So my mom was a teacher, elementary school teacher, and my dad has a small shop. Yes.
Okay, so it was very different to go. But what did they think about you going to study physics? That's obviously very different.
No, they love it. So they always look up, to knowledge, and one thing they said, I mean, if you study physics, that sound really smart, but also it seems that open up a lot of opportunities for many potential jobs, and they were right. So but they never forced me to do anything like that. They said, follow what you like. I mean, at the end, you end up somehow doing that well. So if you feel like doing physics, go for it.
So you said your mom was an elementary teacher. If you did she ever teach you? Were you ever at the same school?
No.
You never had that awkwardness.
No, that was good.
So you started a bit earlier than usually I'd ask this question, but can you remember the very first job that you wanted to do? Probably when you were still in elementary school, sort of way back.
Yeah. So I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a medical doctor. I don't know. I guess probably on one hand, I thought it was so cool to help people. And I always heard the story of doctors traveling to Africa and, doing like helping people in need. And I found that like with rural tools, and I thought that would be so cool. And on the other hand, I guess I was, always interested in knowing how things in our body work. There were, I remember, animation that I was looking at as a kid that were very interesting. And maybe the second part is what then pushed me to biophysics later on, or to life science. But yeah.
So why did you give up on the medical side?
Because I discovered physics and math, and it was.
It was the passion of physics that took over, and that's why.
Yeah. And I really like solving problems, and I'm so glad I did it, because I think I'm much better in abstract thinking or deriving concept of first principle rather than memorizing tons of conditions, which I think is important for a doctor. I mean, big respect for those who can, but this is not my thing.
No, it's quite interesting, isn't it? I said this on previous in previous interviews, that a doctor's great, but actually ultimately they use the tools that you invent to diagnose, and they use the drugs that we invent to prescribe. They just have to look at the patient, use our tools to diagnose, and prescribe what we're doing. Oh, who's more influential? Who's more important? See, you're
Well,
fulfilling the dream.
I'm biased, so.
So when you went into Genoa, am I right that you went into Albi's lab, Alberto Daspro's?
Yeah.
So was that your first microscopy?
Yes, he was actually also teaching the microscopy course. So I kind of arrived there at the last moment. I said, "Oh, can I join this course?" I didn't subscribe. He was like, "Okay, it's always find a way." So so eventually I could. I started following this course, was on microscopy methods on biophysics, so different type of microscopy. And I remember still now that one of the task was actually looking at a single rhodanine molecule on a cover glass. I mean, he wanted to do that with 2 photons, which was very hard, but we were characterizing the sample with the wide field microscopy. And then I see this tiny spot, and I think, like, this is a molecule. So this is a single molecule, and it just blew my mind. As physicists, like, you're used to study that in a theoretical way, like states and diagram, and then you look at that and it's boom, popping up. I thought that was fantastic way to visualize data or a system, like, yeah.
So after Albie, who's a pretty big name, what was Albie like to work for?
Albi, Albi, is really excited about science. So working with him was really fun. He created this group of very young scientists. We're all PhD students most of the time. I was in the lab, so he really like focused a lot on building teamwork, and the motivation and the approach to science. I mean, that's what impacted me a lot at that time. Like, there is this open question, let's solve it. Like, this enthusiasm on problem solving. Yes.
That's really cool to hear. So after Albie, who's a pretty big name, you then went to Max Planck.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
to in
Yes.
Stefan Hell's lab.
I went to Stefan. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, this is quite. You've got a bucket. Have you got a bucket list of people who you want to work and now you've got your own group collaborate with? Is this a bucket list? I've done Albie, I've done Stefan. Who next?
No, not really. It was always like yeah, how you say, like like happening, I would say not by chance, but almost, right? So as I said, like I met Albi because at the very last moment and the very last time to, be able to subscribe for this course. And then a lot of things since then developed. And then for Stefan, I mean, it was actually Albi that invited him to the Italian Biophysical Society, so to a conference. And at the time, I was like, oh, this guy might win the Nobel Prize at some point. And he was presenting one of the first data on 3D stat. And so I remember approaching him like after the talk, and like this big name, and asking, a few questions like, how do you choose the stat wavelength and things like that. And he was so nice. It was like, I was a tiny student. I was even not graduated yet. Like I didn't get my master's degree yet. And he would, stop and sit there and like try to explain me how the pattern looked like and how they do experimentally to choose the right wavelength. So I thought it was like nice to talk to him. And I remember at that time saying, it would be like a dream to join your lab or things like that. And eventually he made that happen. So in fact, first I joined his lab as an exchange student for a short time, and then I went back as a postdoc. Yeah.
Quite a nice tip actually to sort of get that time in a lab, and then I guess they get to look at you as well and think, oh yeah, we want to get back, and so generate opportunities through that route as well.
Yeah.
You've now got your own group. How difficult? You've now got your own group. How difficult was it stepping out from Stefan's lab into your own lab? How daunting was it?
Oh, I think, like many transition are exciting and comes with a lot of motivation and will. But it's also difficult because you change, you go in a new country, it's a new system that I didn't know before. And it's also new responsibilities, as I say, administrative duties, but also you are responsible for the people. And so there is a lot of that. There is a lot of time management and delegation to learn. And this is certainly not easy. So at the beginning, I remember feeling excited, but also kind of alone in a way in your decision, in your learning curve. But yeah, eventually I'm happy that it went that way, because if you get a lot of guidance, it also affects your independence or your way of thinking. And then being there on your own, it really like help you build the things that you want to build, create a lab with the value you want to have. And that was really important to me, like as a growth also.
And have you, again, have you made any mistakes? Do you look back and think, oh, that really wasn't me. I shouldn't have done it that way. I should have changed it, and you change your reflex, or has it been super smooth?
No, of course, you always make mistakes, right? And I think at least to me, the point is not making mistake, but like to rethink or after that and get the chance to, make things then right. But definitely, I mean, especially at the beginning, I had the tendency to be very much on top of many things and try to do things by myself, which is not sustainable in the long term, but is also not good for your team member, because you have to give them space to develop as their own person, their own scientist. So this probably should have been done better. But yes, now anyway, as you said, having probably like family and other students, it helped also with delegation. And
how long did it take you to learn the art of delegation and actually passing on responsibility and not micromanaging those projects and not being too involved, to give people their space? How long do you think it took to develop those skills? 'Cause it's not easy.
I think maybe a year or two. I think in the moment that I got to know the team so well, like better, then we got to know each other, and having also students that have learned the first sort of needed skills, and they start to grow also themselves. So you start trusting them more. So I would say a year or two. When
That's pretty fast, which is impressive. Do you get frustrated, annoyed, angry, disappointed when you delegated something or someone's taken it and they do it wrong?
It happened at the beginning, right, in the learning phase, but then again, you start trusting, and you challenge yourself a little bit, and then you also start seeing that things can be done in a different way, and there is sometimes, even if it takes longer time, has other benefit, or it can bring in new way of thinking of the problem, or even like solving some technical details. I mean, sometimes you feel frustrated when you know it's going to a dead end and you want to have for it, but it's also okay if that doesn't take that long time to let that happen, and that I really discussed. But disappointed, I mean, very rarely with the person. I think more maybe if I see that would cause a lack of motivation overall, because then there would be a delay in getting a positive result and things like that. And I think this is always a little frustrating, but
I think it's important people make mistakes.
Yeah,
because you have to learn. So you sent me a picture of your lab. Well, I'm talking about your lab. But
yeah.
I've only just looked. It's huge. How many people have you got in your lab?
Yeah, so we fluctuated between 10 and 15. I think that was a time there were a few of the first generation PhDs still being in the lab as postdoc for some times, and the new one coming. So we are 2 or 3 less now, but I mean, more or less.
It's still really large. So how quickly did that build up to that number of team?
Not that fast, or at least I remember like in the first 2, 3 years we were like, between 2 and 4, and so it took some times, but then eventually like it increased, and I would say in the last years that we passed the number 10, but we have been gradual. Like I remember the first 2, 4 years we were like between 2 and 5, and then eventually it increased. But I always try to not have it all in once, even if sometimes you have to, because you get this grant. But I kind of manage always to get only a few new person, always in couple, but always a few new person at the time.
How do you actually? So actually, I have 2 things. Firstly, for the listener or viewer is listening, how long have you been at Stockholm? How long have you been in your position?
Almost 10 years. I mean, I started 2015.
Okay, so it's not that long, not really. And you're on your second child. You've been there for 9 years. You've grown a team up to 15. That's quite a stellar, successful path, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel lucky. It's
As everyone says, you have to create your own luck. So how many? But we know you do stuff out of work as well, so it's not all work. Uh, how difficult is it
I
getting
used to, at least.
all? No, come on. You said you in Genoa. You were scuba snorkel diving. You were kayaking. You've gone up. You're
Before babies, right? Before babies. And then, no, it's fine.
so how difficult have you found it getting funds? You must have had grants rejected.
Oh
Please tell
yeah,
me you had a grant rejected.
that's the majority, right?
Okay. That'll be good for people to listen because you're thinking, oh my,
Yes.
it's just been success after success after success. So what would you say your success rate is?
Oh, maybe 30%.
30%, which is good. Well, excellent. So when you, what is the feeling when you got your grant success? What is the initial feeling?
This is like, yeah,
Just a big smile.
that's a big smile, right?
How long does it last? Well, you were always smiling, but how long does that from the grant smile? How long does that last?
I mean, as long as the grant is last.
Oh, wow. I wish I could be more like you. I tell you, as soon as I've got the grant, I think probably within an hour or two, my head is turned into now I've got to find the right member of staff. We've got to deliver this, head straight onto the serious stuff. And yeah, maybe don't take enough time to celebrate the wins. Okay? And now maybe everyone needs to watch this one because you saw the smile when you're successful. What's your immediate reaction when the grant is unsuccessful?
Watch some movie and eat some junk food. And
And how long does that last? Not the
that's
movie, obviously.
nasty. I mean, you know, at the beginning, it could last for a while, but then I decided that shouldn't deserve more than a really, really angry evening. Because if you, I know I felt I can easily get stuck thinking and rethinking what I could have done right, and I think it's always good to, you know, improve yourself, and I think that's important. But I didn't want that to become like a reason for bad mood. It's not sustainable in science because you're going to get rejected in many ways. So at least for grants, I mean, it's yeah. I still yeah.
I don't think I've ever asked this of anyone actually. When the grant is unsuccessful, do you ever retrospectively look back and go, yeah, the reviewers are right, the panel was right?
Yeah, of course. Especially at the beginning, like I was not I am I think you're used so much to talk with people in your own field, especially as a postdoc, and you get so deep into something that um, I was paying very little attention on the communication. I mean, I was thinking that everyone would understand what I'm saying, but I was talking maybe too technical, or so I was not a very good communicator. And now understanding a bit better like how grant review work, I mean, you need to be able to talk at least to the other scientists within the life science and be understood. So it need to be improved. And the problem is that in many grants you don't receive feedback. And I think this is a real pity because it doesn't give you the possibility to get better. But eventually, you know, when you write something and get rejected, you start discussing with peers. So if you want, if you call for that, you kind of receive feedback from maybe not the review panel, but someone else, and that was really helpful to then improve the writing.
Again, new question. Gosh, this is good, isn't it? What do you prefer, writing a grant application or writing up a results manuscript?
Results, of course.
The results.
The results. I mean, there is I know, like people hate writing grant, but I also think that if you don't have to stress yourself and write too many, there is some good in it because it makes you think about your next move, like what you want to do it. And it's really the time that you sit down and you carefully think about every details of a potential future project. So these parts I actually enjoy of writing grant. But writing down results is also so nice because it's just the first step, right? So you are like in brainstorming or in processing the result, and this is also in a way a moment of that is important for also the next step, sort of the processing of a certain result, the self-reflection. It helps you understand them even deeply, and go deeper and deeper, and then plan better the next project.
Yeah, I've never thought about the difference between the two, and actually, I think I'll be the opposite. I think I'll be writing. I think the grant application, because that's when you get to describe your vision, the idea, the concept for the first time, and actually really distill it down into something, as you say, that you can communicate with others in a sensible way, instead of just having the idea in your head. And maybe the results, actually, we've got the results. It's quite good when a postdoc or one of the tech team can write it up, because I'm moving on already. And then the results are done.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm probably thinking more about the discussion of outlook that comes after the result. So in the moment that you think more and more about the result, you're also thinking like, okay, what is left? What is that we can do better, like maybe in the next project, right? And then that could also be connected with a future vision. But yeah.
Some quick fire questions. Are you an early bird or night owl?
Night owl. I used to be.
I suppose that's usually, right now, it's going to be everything. But okay. PC or Mac?
PC in the lab, Mac in the office.
McDonald's or Burger King?
Max, the Swedish version.
Okay. What's your favorite? What's your go-to at McDonald's then?
Oh, actually, I don't do it, but
Okay. Coffee or tea?
coffee, espresso only.
So have you got one? I bet you had one just before this, though.
Before, yes.
Knew you would. Chocolate or cheese?
Cheese.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So beer or wine?
Wine. I'm so stereotypical Italian. I'm sorry. Cheese and wine.
Red or white? Red or white wine?
Red.
Again,
Sorry.
once you said espresso, cheese, white, it was always going down that line of red, wasn't it? What's your favorite food?
Ooh. Well, I do love a lot of things. I love something named zigini that probably you didn't, I don't know if you heard yet, but you know, for some family reason, I have a lot of connection with Eritrea. So it's Eritrean food in the corn of Africa, and is a sort of like this overcooked meat with some spice on it, and you eat with this spongy bread, and it's really tasty.
That actually sounds quite good. I'll go with that. What is your least favorite food? Do you have anything you really, really not fussed for eating at all?
Actually, I do. It's I shouldn't say loud, but my mother-in-law might listen to that. But it's sauerkraut, so I don't like sauerkraut. And being in Germany, it's not easy to avoid them. But I don't really like it.
And so when you go to your in-laws, do they always give you sauerkraut, or do they know you don't like it?
I mean, initially they didn't know, so I always got them, and obviously my partner was always laughing that happening. But now they know, so it's it's a joke now.
That's one of the best answers I think we've had. And actually, you sent me another picture, which is of cake.
Oh,
So, what? So describe what this cake is. Besides, I have no idea what this cake is. Besides saying super resolved and looking a bit cellular.
yeah. So I haven't baked it yet. I haven't baked it myself. So this is yeah, true fact. So my lab did, and I think Giovanna did some lab member, and then she actually won even a prize for that, because it was in our institute. There was like a contest like at the end of the year and so on. So it's It's a cake with chocolate. There are berries, hand-picked here in Sweden. And there is a neuron that obviously we love to image in our in our lab. And there is a lens because we want to see these tiny details in the neuronal compartment that are highlighted in white.
Wow. I'm
Yeah.
worried if that's the lens.
Yeah.
What's your favorite cake?
My favorite cake. I'm not a big dessert person, but of course I love tiramisu.
So you're not just Italian. You said you got your childhood somewhere in Eritrea as well. So it's not just you're obviously completely Italianized from that.
Some part, you know.
TV or book?
Um, ah, I would, yeah, TV.
Okay.
I like movies.
Any trash TV that you like watching? Anything really rubbish just to chill out to?
Um, yeah,
What's the body language? Or should I say this or not? My lab's going to hear this.
yeah, exactly. No, I mean, Arrested Development is really fun. So sometimes I watch, but it's really trash.
It's good to have trash TV. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Favorite film?
Otto Mezzo from Fellini. I don't know if it's not a light movie, but it's fantastic. It's about a filmmaker that has a block, like a filmmaker block or director block. How is it called? So it's a movie about himself. But what I find it funny that it's a movie about the film that you're watching. Like it's
It's the concept.
the director describing himself and the whole his struggles in making the movie while doing that. So it's, you know, there are a lot of connection also of the creative process and what we struggle in science sometimes in our project, all the ups and downs.
And favorite Christmas film?
Christmas film.
Yeah. And I look forward to asking this question. If I ever get the honor in 10 years' time again, when your children are growing up, what your favorite Christmas film is at that point.
I don't know the English name. I used to watch this Fantagiro a lot of time. I mean, all the Italian are watching. But yes, about fairy, like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway.
When you go on holiday, are you someone who likes to lay out on the beach, or would you like to go and experience culture?
Both. I use a combination of both. I mean, I don't like to just sit down on the beach, but to do something with the sea. But I love to go in place with water and the ocean. But typically there are also sightseeing to do around. I mean, in Europe, we are very lucky that you can find both. So I guess so.
Okay. Italy or Germany?
Italy for vacation, Germany for science.
Okay. Germany or Sweden?
Ouch, this is difficult. Like, yeah.
Go on, you got to choose one.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I can't, yeah. I don't know. Sweden, I guess. That's where we are.
Okay. And Sweden or Italy?
Again, like Italy for vacation and Sweden for
science.
science.
Gosh, you're going to keep all your passports. You've been very politically good at that. I was hoping you'd go for one way and go down a different. Alas. So, other questions. Kimberly, so you said you like your exercise. You sent another picture, which actually of you on your bike, so a road bike. So, is this your transport to work?
Yes, yes, yes. It's a 20 minutes bike ride. And then you can, you know, this is the path. So it's there is a part that you're going along the sea, and then there is the forest. So it's nice to start the day this way.
You're selling Sweden really nicely. It's sounding really quite cool on the back of it. So
that was June. That was June.
Right.
Then we talk again in January.
Well, do you not just traverse? Do you not just ski in?
Of course.
Get your skis back out at that point. So we talked about TV, film, we talked about trash TV. You also sent me some pictures now. I've got to work out which one. And you sent me a picture from your favorite artist. So who is your favorite artist and what sort of picture is it?
Yeah, so this is Magritte, so Belgian painter, right? And what I like of his painting, that he always used the real object and try to, you know, question the boundaries between what is real and what is a representation. But this especially this painting, I think it relates to all of us microscopists, because you know, you see the paint of a landscape that is supposed to be real, right? But then there is this fine line. And isn't it what a microscope does, right? We use this instrument to look at a sample and to find some truth in the sample, like cells or biological process, but this is always a sort of representation or partial representation of a reality, because we choose fluorescence eventually as a contrast method. We have a certain point spread function, you know, the black box, right? And I always like to show this picture, especially at workshop with students, because this is like most of the time what we actually do, what we should be doing is reflecting a lot on like, what is this fine line? What is our instrument? What is this fine line? What is the representation? What is missing? And this is so important to reflect, because it's kind of fueling like the next idea, like what is missing to have another representation that eventually at some point will allow us to pose, you know, better question or other question or new questions.
And I presume you use this in your lectures.
Yeah, I do. At sort of a final point, like always reflect what is the black box, right? What is the fine line in this case there? What are you actually measuring?
And have you thought, because obviously this picture, for those who are listening, it's a picture, you've got an archway with the sea behind it, then the sea sort of extends to the left. And if you look closely, it's actually an easel, and the painting extends beyond where the window frame is. So you're seeing beyond the window as well as what's in the window. Have you ever thought about taking, just cropping out the picture itself and then editing it to look like something slightly different, to show that what you can sometimes see in a microscope isn't truly reflective of what's actually there?
Oh, that's a very good idea. Like to show, you know, a cell recorded with different observable contrast method. That could be a good idea. Yeah.
Just because that will then may spin it on its head a bit and make people think, oh yeah, but it's the same picture. It's just because of the contrast or something else, or resolution, you've lost detail or you've gained detail or whatever else, or you stretched the contrast, or you've done something completely wrong if you manipulated the image. So I really like it. That's really cool. You sent me another picture, which so this picture definitely isn't like the previous picture. For people listening, what is this picture of and what is it? And I think this is the picture in your background as well.
It is, but it's so embarrassing to see that just after a real paint, like done by a real painter, right? And now comes myself trying to paint and yes. So this is one of my other, let's say, 2D work, but in this case, not through the eye of a microscope, but just with my like painted with watercolor. And yeah, it represents a few instruments that are sort of personalized. So they have legs and they produce something like bubble. And I mean, I was just reflecting on that I mean, at the end is still, there is some connection with science. There is. That is, or what we do, that is sort of catching the moment, or like the study of dynamics. So in a way, I just saw that they give this idea of a fleeting or something fleeting, like, you know, something happening and that just caught in a moment. And in a way, is what we want to do with our methodology, like look at dynamics and catch biomolecule in action. So
I think it's an excellent picture. And I know before we started recording, Jason, who's actually in the background doing the recording for this, noticed it on your wall behind and immediately asked about the picture because he was drawn to it. He was impressed by it. So I don't think Jason knew it was your picture at that point. So Jason's probably now in the background thinking, oh my goodness. So it's an amazingly good picture.
We are doing Magritte, the picture in the picture.
So thinking of art and pictures, this obviously now, oh, this makes my head look like it's electric. Oh, you send me an image which is now a proper scientific image. So I presume maybe a resolved image in this case.
Yeah. So it's an image of a neuron, and recorded it with, I think, 3-4 channels. It is a steady image, but it's sort of zoom out so you don't see many details. But I choose that because we have also this. We are fascinated by neurons, and so we image lots of them, and especially this picture always remind me about how fascinating they are as a cell, like with all these branches and polarized morphology, and but also challenging because they're extended cells, but they also have all these teeny tiny details, and it's that pose a lot of challenges for microscopists because when you go for throughput, sometimes you compromise speed and resolution, and that's can be a problem. So that's a big motivation, or like for us to develop better tools that can do both, right? Provide overview cell to cell interaction and then dig deep into a details, a specific compartment, and then study how protein are organized in this very packed environment.
And here's a really nice connection between you and your husband as well, because it's your work meeting his work to a degree.
That's true. Yeah.
The way you just
different
said, you haven't actually thought about that part of it.
A bit. I mean, I feel that he want to make, like, his goal is make all our as microscopists sort of jobless because he want to do things molecularly, right? To study spatial information with molecular tricks. So I'm not sure.
That can only go so far. Yeah, you still need to see. You still need that. You still need to see to conceptualize it. Helps. You say the spatial side. You need to know the provenance. You need to go back to your original picture that you put in. So important to see the big picture as well as that tiny detail.
Exactly.
We've got plenty of put downs for non-microscopists.
Good.
Sure. Have you ever worried about the work-life balance? I know we touched on it earlier.
Not really. I mean, I know it sounds weird, but not really. I mean, as I said, so I used to work crazy hour. I used to be extremely free and flexible in the timing, but I wanted to. I never felt that I had to. And I think research, in a way, it allows you to have this freedom. And definitely, I mean, I work probably more than I should have, but it never felt as an obligation. And that's, I think, what was important to me, that I never feel trapped in you have to be there this time and so on. And of course, now with a family, you question that more. And I do believe that I'm lucky to be in Sweden, where there is a lot of understanding versus family from faculty as a mindset. It's completely normal for both parents to take care of kids. So maybe that also easy a bit the whole process. But maybe
that's a generational change as well, where that's become far more accepted and maybe expected in places as well.
Yeah.
The sharing of childcare, which is, I think, a positive as we go forward, to have that sort of shared responsibility with it. Do you think working hard, enjoying your job, will inspire your own children?
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, we'll see. I'm just looking forward for them to reach an age where they can come to the lab and visualize things through a microscope. I think they're a bit too young.
Are you slightly worried that they might, instead of having your math, physics, innate ability, that they've picked up your art ability and going to drawing pictures instead of
it's up to them. As long as they do what they like, I'm sure they will get the motivation to do it good. So at least I don't want, I mean, they don't have necessarily to follow my path.
Thinking of inspiring them, who have been your inspirations and motivations? Who's inspired you and who's motivated you?
I think I was quite lucky to be motivated like by my family and brothers and a father and mother, like I mean, and friends. I all the time, like and then there has been role models, but I wouldn't pinpoint a single person, rather certain characteristic in many person that I've been the luck to work with. As I said, I mean, I mentioned before, my math professor, she was really fun and managed to be really tough, but at the same time to use humor a lot. And that's something that motivate me also in my sort of style of supervision. And then of course Albert enthusiasm, Stefan, resilience, and like really going deep into the details and breaking things in principles, and so that were all really inspiring to me.
So, I usually ask, what has been the most challenging, difficult time? What has been the most fun time? I've got a feeling it's just going to be fun all the time. But have you had the most challenging time of your career? What was, if there was a period of 3 months, 6 months of the year that you think I wouldn't want to repeat that period again? Is there any period that you wouldn't want to repeat?
I think it's intrinsic in, I guess, the life of most scientists to have these ups and downs, right? And to have this struggle. I don't know if I wouldn't pick that back, because I think that always I kind of needed the struggle to give the best of myself after all. I mean, I learned so much about that. So as personality, I need to sort of see what, like, to get through the struggle, to touch the bottom, I'd say, like, but not probably really. But to then try to get a better version of myself. And looking back, I think maybe all these transition moments that we mentioned before were difficult, because moving from Italy to Germany, on one hand, you have to create all kind of new friendship, and then a new system, and then Germany to Sweden. Probably that was the most recent, so that I still remember the beginning was really not easy.
How did you find besides the work and the different admin, the different way of working between from Italy to Germany, Germany to Sweden, what about just the social culture around it? How did you find those moves? The lifestyle, the changes, the expectations, how was that?
As I said, in a way, like exciting, but on the other hand, yeah, challenging. I mean, I wouldn't say like they were more related to maybe cultural cues or things like that, and especially from Germany to Sweden, I felt that more. For some reason, from Italy to Germany, there was not a big issues. Probably because the German way is very direct, so it's very easy to understand what if people are happy or unhappy with you. So but for Sweden it was really different. It was also the position was different, right? So understanding in committees, in the way you are expressing yourself, it's well received or not, it's extremely difficult. Plus I remember, but again, it's a little bit connected to work, putting a lot of effort in. I have a very cross this nationality group, and merging different cultures. Sometimes it's not that easy, especially like I just remember this fun moment, like in Sweden, for example, it's very much appreciated silent. I mean, you need to have in conversation silent pause, because that's like kind of needed for self-reflection, to come up with some, to process what has been said. While as Italian, or in Italy, you tend to not have pause in a conversation, because that is when people don't feel comfortable. And so you try to fill up constantly this pose because you don't want to make the person uncomfortable. So you want to help. And I think this, you know, could be perceived overwhelming at the beginning. So I both also in group meeting, I had to be a sort of traffic light and say, okay, let's think about that for a moment in silence. And then,
yeah, I think even for the Brits, that would be quite difficult to put silence into the conversation.
but it helps. I mean, it's yeah. So
Do you have any regrets at all? The answer's going to be no. I know this, but do you have any regrets in your career so far?
I used to have a little bit of regret to not have been earlier in the States, for example, to do science. I kind of now work on that because I had the opportunity to go in a sabbatical and spend a few months there. But for me, it was always like this big curiosity, like how it is there, how it is to do science, and some of the institutions over there. But otherwise, yeah, not really. No.
Well, that leads quite nicely on. If you could work anywhere in the world, where would you choose to work?
I'm very happy where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So let's make it easier. For a year, if you could take your lab and put it somewhere for a year, where would you take the lab then?
I don't know. I mean, again, I think Europe is a fantastic place to do science. You know, working a lot with fluorescence, I had big respect for Japan and I never been there. So that I think could be really fun to explore for some times. But I can't really say, oh, I would like to move all the lab there and live there forever. I mean, that's maybe it's a bit too much. I don't know. I don't know.
Isn't Global Bioimaging having their meeting in Japan next year? There you go. That could be
Oh, good.
talking of which, what's your favorite conference? Oh.
Conference. Oh, I like all of them. No. You know, historically, as I said, like FOM was always was my first conference. I know the community, and it felt like always felt like family to go there. And
Your first con?
2004 in I think 2004 was it in Jena? Yeah, and
It was 2000. When was Genoa?
then was the one before.
2003.
Yes, but there I was not yet. I was still studying, so I went to I think a few lectures, but it was still yeah, I was not into the field yet. I was I think doing my bachelor.
Yeah, I think my first big conference was from in Genoa. So that was Albi. Put the connection back to Albi. That was Albi's gig, obviously. We're nearly up to time. If you could do any job for a day, so not another lab, if you could do any job for a day or a week to see what it's like to be that type of person or that type of role, what would you go for?
I want to be a rock star.
That's a good answer. What is your favorite music? What is your music genre?
Oh, I like you know, I like David Bowie.
Sorry?
David Bowie.
No, I heard. I'm just really sorry that was your choice.
Oh no.
I'm joking. I didn't expect that as an answer. With the saxophone and the guitar and the musical instruments and your art, I didn't expect you to say David Bowie. But
No? Oh no, under pressure.
okay, no, that's an excellent answer for it. So, last question: what would you like to see happen in the future? Whether it be microscopy or career, what would you like to see or have enabled in the future?
Oh.
That's a big question, isn't it?
It's a big question and can have many answers, right? I mean, that's but what to prioritize. I mean, I think I mean, obviously, I enjoy mentoring students, and I like the first generation now went out, and then hopefully there will be others. And one thing is to see them succeeding. I mean, it's a scientist and building up their own labs and so on, or their own interest, whatever, in academia or companies. And this is something that, take time, of course, generation, but then that's something that I would like to see. I mean, it started already, but I hope that it will happen more and more. And on the other hand, also for the instrument that we build, some of them are still very much academic instrument, if you want, like not super easy to use. And like my big dream is like to make them accessible. So to see that they, beyond our developer community, that they could do something and impact science in a broader way.
I think they're both really good. So you almost got your lab children, and to see your lab children go on to succeed. And actually, one of the recent podcasts I did, I had the privilege of actually doing 3 of my former lab members who've all got different careers now, all successful, all different careers. And I thought that's quite nice to see how their careers had developed from the same starting point. Just like yourself, they all start looking at the same sort of technology, and they've all gone off in different ways. All ran away from the technology, but nonetheless, well, the technology they were working with. But actually, it's been interesting. So it'll be interesting to see where all your children
We'll see.
go up and how they succeed. And absolutely right, because your technology is super cool. The work is super useful, and making that more user friendly just makes it more widely applicable to many different science groups, which will be wonderful. Ilaria, thank you so much today. Everyone who's listened or watched, please don't forget to subscribe. Go back. You can listen to Lotta, Richard, Rakesh. You can listen to Stefan Hell that you've heard about, and others on the previous podcast. But Ilaria, it's been really lovely, and congratulations again on your new child. I didn't ask, son or daughter?
Say again?
Son or daughter?
Daughter, 2 female.
2 female.
Yes. So
Nice. You've got so much. Thank you for taking time out today, as you're still working, got your children, and you still took time to talk to me today. So thank you so much, Ilaria.
thank you for having me. Grateful to join.
Yeah, no, thank you. You've been brilliantly inspirational, and I'm sure everyone's loved listening to this. Ilaria, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to The Microscopists, a bite-sized bio podcast sponsored by Zeiss Microscopy. To view all audio and video recordings from this series, please visit bitesizebio.com/the-microscopists.